6 months is all you need if you're clear on what you want and you're committed to making it happen. Most people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in half a year with focused execution. Let's be real, the difference between the person who makes massive progress and the one who stays stuck isn't luck, it's clarity and commitment. Those are the accelerators. When you have them, you stop dabbling, you stop hesitating, and you start creating serious momentum. Clarity is not about having every detail figured out. It's not about knowing the exact steps from A to Z. It's about knowing what Z looks like. It's about identifying that final destination in such sharp focus that every decision, every action, either gets you closer or becomes a distraction. Clarity gives you a filter. Without it, you say yes to things you shouldn't, you waste time in indecision, and you burn out doing tasks that don't matter. But when you're clear, you move with speed. You're no longer overwhelmed by options because you've already made the biggest decision, what you're working toward. Now, commitment is the muscle that turns clarity into results. You can have the best idea in the world, but if you show up inconsistently, it dies in the planning stage. Commitment means you're all in before the results show up. It means doing the work even when it's inconvenient, even when you're not feeling it, and especially when no one is watching. Commitment is not about being motivated every day. It's about being disciplined. It's about showing up for the future version of yourself, even when today's version would rather scroll, procrastinate, or wait for a better time. Together, clarity and commitment create acceleration. Why? Because most people are distracted and indecisive. They're waiting for signs. They're waiting to feel ready. They chase 5 different goals at once and wonder why none of them stick. But when you are laser, focused and consistently showing up, you build momentum that compounds. What used to take a week now takes a day. You stop negotiating with your calendar. You stop needing permission. You start leading your own results. In 6 months, your life can look completely different. You can launch the business. You can double your income. You can finally get your health back on track. You can write the book. You can build the team. You can turn your side hustle into your main thing. But only if you stop waiting for the perfect conditions and start working with what you have now. Most people are waiting for a magical moment. They think they need more time, more resources, more confidence. But those things don't arrive before you begin. They show up because you begin. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. You don't need to have it all figured out. You need to decide, then do. Every day becomes a brick in the foundation of the life you're building, and when you're clear, you know which bricks matter. When you're committed, you lay them down, even when it's hard, even when progress feels slow. That's the difference between dabbling and building something real. There are going to be days when you want to quit. That's normal. There will be weeks that test you, moments that make you question yourself. But commitment means you stay in the room, you keep showing up. Clarity reminds you why you started. Together, they pull you through every challenge faster than you thought possible. If you're not where you want to be right now, it's not because you're not capable. It's likely because you're unclear on the goal or uncommitted to the process, or both. Fix that, and everything shifts. 6 months from now, you're either going to be proud of the results or stuck in the same cycle of waiting. Decide now, get clear, get committed. You don't need more time. You just need to stop wasting the time you already have. 6 months is all you need if you stop pretending you need more. Compressing the timeline isn't about rushing. It's about removing the fluff, the excuses, the unnecessary distractions, and getting straight to what matters. Most people stretch a goal out over a year, not because it requires that much time, but because they allow it to. They give themselves a year, so they take a year. But what if you asked yourself, what if I had to do this in 6 months? That question alone changes your posture. It forces you to prioritize, to act faster, to think differently. It pulls your attention away from perfection and toward progress. The reality is, the work expands to fill the time you give it. That's Parkinson's law. If you give yourself 12 months to build something, you'll spend the first 6 months planning, thinking, hesitating, and tweaking. But if you give yourself 6 months, you move, you make decisions. You don't have time to second, guess every step. You stop trying to control every outcome and start executing with what you have. Compressing the timeline means building with urgency, not stress, urgency. There's a difference. Urgency is focused, it's clear, it understands the value of time. Stress is scattered, reactive, and draining. When you compress your timeline, you're not burning out, you're cutting out. You're eliminating the meetings that don't move the needle. You're saying no to everything that doesn't align with the outcome. You're not adding more hours to your day. You're using your hours more intentionally. The truth is, people don't lack time. They lack clarity and boundaries. When you're clear on the outcome and committed to the result, you realize how many things are actually optional. You realize you don't need another podcast episode, another workshop, another opinion. You need to start, you need to move, and when you operate with that mindset, what takes others 12 months starts happening for you in half the time, but it requires a decision. You have to decide that speed matters. You have to decide that you're done waiting, done planning in circles, done dragging your feet on the things you say are important. You can't compress the timeline if you're still addicted to your comfort zone. You can't accelerate if you're constantly stopping to reevaluate, replan, or retreat. It's not that 6 months is some magic number. It's that 6 months is enough to force momentum. It's short enough to create pressure, but long enough to build something real. 6 months of focused, intentional work can change your income, your business, your relationships, your health. If you stop operating like you have forever, you don't. Time is not guaranteed, so why would you move like it is? Compressing the timeline is about treating your goals with the seriousness they deserve. It's not about doing everything. It's about doing the right things faster. It's about building with intention. It's realizing that done is better than perfect, and that taking messy action today will always beat perfect action someday. When you commit to 6 months, you also commit to constraint. You can't do 10 things well. You have to pick, you have to prioritize. That's where the growth comes from. Constraint breeds creativity, it breeds discipline. When the timeline is tight, you have no room for fluff. You're forced to focus. And focus is where results live. You want to move faster, get real about your time. Audit your calendar, audit your habits. How much time is going to things that don't align with your vision? How many hours are being traded for distractions, for mindless scrolling, for tasks that don't matter? Compressing the timeline means taking your time back. It means designing your day with intention, not reaction. The beautiful part is, once you prove to yourself what's possible in 6 months, your standards change. You no longer believe things have to take forever. You stop tolerating delays, indecision, and waiting. You become the kind of person who moves fast and builds well. That identity shift is the real win. Because once you become someone who doesn't wait, who doesn't drag things out, who compresses timelines with precision, you don't just hit one goal. You hit them again and again. So ask yourself, what if I didn't need more time? What if I just needed to use the time I already have with more urgency, more clarity, more focus? That's where everything shifts. 6 months isn't a deadline. It's an opportunity, a window, one that opens only when you decide to move like your future depends on it. Because it does. Habits are a great place to start, but if you want long-term, sustainable results, you need to build systems. Habits are individual actions you repeat regularly. Systems are the structure that ensures those actions happen consistently, no matter what's going on around you. Habits rely on your motivation. Systems rely on your design. That's the difference between someone who shows up occasionally and someone who shows up regardless. Think about it this way. Anyone can have a habit of going to the gym when they feel inspired. But a system is when you've blocked out your workout on the calendar, prepared your clothes the night before, scheduled a trainer, and built your day around showing up. With habits alone, you show up when it's convenient. With systems, you show up because it's built in, it's part of how you operate. Most people try to change their lives with willpower. They tell themselves, I just need to be more disciplined, but discipline fades. Energy fades. What keeps you on track when those things disappear? Systems. Systems are what carry you through the days when you don't feel like it, when you're tired, when life gets messy. Systems protect your priorities from your emotions. And if you want results that last longer than your motivation, you have to create systems that support them. A habit might be journaling in the morning. A system is setting your alarm 30 minutes earlier, placing your journal on your pillow every night so you don't forget, and turning your phone off until after your morning routine. The system removes friction. It removes excuses. It makes the desired outcome easier and more automatic. The best systems don't just help you take action, they reduce decision fatigue. You're not asking yourself, should I do this today? You already decided. The system makes it automatic. Think about how much time and energy you spend deciding what to do next. A system answers that question before it even arises. That's how you get more done in less time with less stress. Now here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Building systems takes effort up front. It requires intention. You have to think about what you want, why you want it, and how you're going to protect it. But once it's built, it becomes a machine, and the more you refine it, the more powerful it becomes. A system turns effort into output on repeat. You don't have to keep pushing the boulder uphill, you just have to keep the system running. This applies to everything: your business, your health, your relationships, your finances. Want to save more money? Don't just try to spend less. Build a system, set up automatic transfers, create spending rules. Use tracking tools. Want to scale your business? Stop reinventing the wheel for every client or project. Build onboarding systems, communication systems, fulfillment systems. The more you systemize, the more you free up your energy to focus on growth, not survival. Here's what's also true: systems expose what's broken. If you're not getting the result you want, it's not always about trying harder. Sometimes it's about fixing the process. If the system is broken, your results will be too. That's actually good news, because you can change a system, you can upgrade it, you can tweak the inputs, you can make the process better so the outcome becomes inevitable. Habits are personal, systems can be scaled. That's another critical distinction. If you're building a team or a business, your habits alone won't create consistency. Systems will. Systems allow other people to execute your vision without guessing. They make your results repeatable, measurable, and trainable. That's how you go from doing everything yourself to building something that runs without you. The goal isn't just to work harder. The goal is to make it easier to win. Systems help you win more often with less resistance. You don't have to rely on being on every single day. You just have to make sure the system is running. If your energy is high, the system works. If your energy is low, the system still works. That's freedom. That's consistency. That's how you stop starting over. So stop trying to fix everything with another new habit. Look at your environment. Look at your routines. Look at your triggers, your tools, your workflows. Ask yourself, is this repeatable? Is this sustainable? Is this built to last when I'm tired, busy, or distracted? If the answer is no, build something better. Because habits start the change, but systems keep it going. Systems are how you stop hoping for results and start engineering them. Most people are drowning in too many priorities, too many meetings, too many goals, too many distractions disguised as opportunities. And they wonder why they're busy all the time but not actually making progress. The truth is, you're not overwhelmed because you have too much to do. You're overwhelmed because you haven't been ruthless enough with what you don't do. To move forward, to accelerate, to actually build something meaningful in 6 months, you need to say no to 90% of what's competing for your time so you can say a full, resounding yes to the 10% that actually matters. This isn't about being dismissive, it's about being intentional. There's a difference between being productive and being effective. Productivity is doing a lot. Effectiveness is doing the right things really well. The more you say yes to everything, the more you dilute your energy, your focus, and your results. Every time you agree to something that isn't aligned with your top priorities, you're saying no to something that is. Most people don't realize this until they're burned out or stuck, wondering why their big goals are still sitting on the shelf untouched. The people who make massive progress in short periods of time are not superhuman. They've just mastered the art of focus. They've gotten really good at identifying the 10% of things that actually drive results and eliminating the rest. Saying no is uncomfortable at first. You'll feel guilty. You'll worry about disappointing people, but the moment you stop trying to be available to everyone and everything is the moment you start becoming who you were meant to be. The 10% is what moves the needle. It's the few activities that produce the majority of your results. If you're an entrepreneur, the 10% might be high. Leverage work like content creation, sales conversations, or strategic planning. If you're in a corporate role, it might be building team systems, presenting key insights, or leading critical projects. But here's the catch: the 10% usually isn't urgent, it's important. And when your calendar is filled with urgent but unimportant tasks, the important work never gets done. Saying no isn't just about declining offers or invitations. It's about designing your life. It's about building boundaries that protect your time, your energy, and your priorities. You can't expect world-class results if you're treating your time like it's free. Every yes needs to be earned. Every commitment needs to be evaluated. Is it aligned with your goals? Does it serve your vision? Or is it just noise? You have to be willing to be misunderstood, to be seen as unavailable, to disappoint some people in order to serve the people who actually matter. Because if you say yes to everything, you end up being average at most things and excellent at none. Excellence requires obsession. It requires depth. And depth only comes when you cut out the distractions and go all in on the few things that matter. If you want to compress the timeline and make massive strides in 6 months, you need to master the skill of filtering. Filtering opportunities, filtering people, filtering tasks. Not everything deserves your attention. Not every idea deserves your energy. Just because it's a good idea doesn't mean it's the right idea right now. You need to protect your yes like your future depends on it, because it does. Start by auditing your calendar. Look at where your time is going. Ask yourself, is this part of the 10% that's moving me toward my goal? If not, it's part of the 90%. Cut it, delegate it, or schedule it for later. This isn't cold or harsh, it's leadership. It's clarity, and clarity always looks like confidence even when it feels like discomfort. Every no creates space. Space for the work that matters, space for deep thinking, space for rest, space for growth. You cannot build a powerful life in a cluttered schedule. You need margin, you need focus, you need room to be excellent. And excellence doesn't come from doing more, it comes from doing less better. So if you're feeling stuck, stretched, or stagnant, stop asking what you can add. Ask what you need to subtract. The fastest path to acceleration is elimination. Say no with purpose. Say no with conviction. Say no so your yes actually means something, because that 10%, that's where the transformation happens. That's where the breakthroughs live. That's where the future you've been chasing finally becomes real. At the start, most goals are driven by outcomes. You want to lose the weight, hit the revenue number, land the job, finish the project. You chase the result because it's tangible, it's visible, it feels like proof that your efforts are worth something. But here's what you learn the deeper you go. The real win isn't the result, it's who you become in the process. What you achieve is a moment, who you become is forever. When you set a goal, you're not just choosing a finish line. You're choosing a new standard for how you show up. You're deciding to become the kind of person who follows through, who keeps promises to themselves, who doesn't quit when it gets uncomfortable. And that transformation, that internal shift, is more valuable than any number or milestone you hit. Because results can fade, money can be lost, jobs can change, but character stays, habits stay, identity stays. People chase outcomes thinking they'll feel whole once they get there. But if you haven't done the internal work, hitting the goal won't make you feel different. You'll just move the bar. You'll set a new goal and stay stuck in the cycle of chasing the next thing. That's because it was never about the thing. It was about becoming the kind of person who no longer doubts themselves, who trusts their own discipline, who knows they can count on themselves no matter what. Becoming that person requires more than strategy. It requires grit. It requires emotional endurance. You're going to face resistance, distraction, self-doubt, and discomfort. You're going to have days where it would be easier to back off, to postpone, to lower your standards. But those are the exact moments that shape you. Every time you show up when it would be easier to hide, you're not just getting closer to the goal. You're becoming the kind of person who finishes what they start. And that change matters more than anything on your to-do list. Who you become influences every part of your life. When you start thinking of yourself as someone who follows through, you don't just perform better in one area. You become more confident in all areas. You make decisions faster. You hold stronger boundaries. You speak with more clarity. You stop shrinking to fit other people's expectations. You take yourself seriously. And that self-respect turned through actions builds into your relationships, your business, your health, your leadership. But here's the hard truth. Becoming the next version of you requires letting go of the current one. The habits, the beliefs, the excuses that have kept you comfortable up to now won't take you where you're going next. Growth demands identity death. You have to let go of the story that says you're inconsistent, that you're not disciplined, that you always quit. You have to stop arguing for your limitations and start building evidence for a different reality. That's what the process is really about. Every rep, every early morning, every uncomfortable conversation is a vote for the person you're becoming. And the more votes you cast, the more solid that identity becomes. You don't become successful by accident. You build the traits, the systems, the mindset, one decision at a time, and eventually you look up and realize the goal was never the finish line. It was the training ground for your evolution. When you shift your focus from outcome to identity, everything changes. You stop needing external validation because the real reward is internal alignment. You stop chasing quick wins and start building long-term foundations. You stop measuring success by how things look and start measuring it by how you feel about who you are becoming. That's not to say achievements don't matter. They do, but they are the byproduct, not the purpose. The purpose is growth. The purpose is integrity. The purpose is becoming the kind of person who sets high standards and meets them, not to prove something, but because it's who you are now. That kind of internal power can't be taken from you. It's built, it's earned, it's yours. So yes, set big goals, work for results, push for the achievement, but never forget the outcome is temporary. The person you become along the way is permanent, and that version of you, the one with discipline, focus, confidence, and clarity, is more valuable than anything you'll ever check off a list.